Chapter 80 Level 3 Ice Spread. He lightly raised his palm, and the ball of flames on his palm rolled down. As the flames fell down, the scarlet-red fires instantly spread beneath his feet as they turned into a gorgeous scarlet carpet. These flames began to burn around Mo Fan's surroundings. He already had the body of a fire user, and thus, even if flames were to burn around his body, they would not affect him too much. Furthermore, there were still layers of ice accumulating under his feet. As the frost encountered Mo Fan's flames, melting began to occur instantly. Raising his head as he stood there in the middle of the flames, Mo Fan had a smile on his face, carrying hints of provocation as he looked at Yu Ang. The ice spread that was everywhere had melted into water from the effects of scorch. Mo Fan didn't even need to move to accomplish a state where he didn't need to worry about being frozen into an ice cube. Using the fire burst, scorch on his surroundings, thus, removing the effects of being frozen from the ice spread. This guy is pretty clever. Mrs. Tang Yue, who was seated in the audience, had a trace of a smile on her face. Even if the students from the magic schools have been learning magic, their understanding toward the uses of magic were still incredibly limited. Just like the fire burst spell, practically every fire student who cast Fire Burst would subconsciously use the Fire Burst to directly attack their foe's body by throwing it. In fact, the effects of Fire Burst Scorch had many usages. For example, let's say if you cast it on a fixed area, causing it to ignite a continued fire, it would be able to turn into a firewall that could seal roads and cut them off. If you were to do it like Mo Fan, directly allowing the flames to roll beneath his feet, relying on his natural resistance to fire, that would cause a layer of protection in the form of fire. The protection of these flames could at very least shatter the freezing effects of an ice mage's ice spread. A level 1 fire burst broke the level 2 ice spread's freezing effects. This is a little interesting, Principal Zhu nodded. During the stage where you were lacking in spells, being able to flexibly use what you had was a very profound skill. Clearly, on the first exchange, Mo Fan still occupied some advantage. My turn. Mo Fan stood in the center of the flames that were protecting him. His star path connected once more inside his pupils. The speed of connecting the star paths were very quick. He casually grasped his hands. One more fire burst emerged on top of Mo Fan's palm, but the intensity of the flames this time were different. You could tell the fire burst that emerged within Mo Fan's hands was impetuous. Fire burst, burning bones. The temperature of the raging flames increased, and a dazzling scarlet-red fireball was thrown out. It left behind a long flame remnant as it streaked across the line of sight of the spectators before it accurately fell toward Yu Ang. It's the second level of fire burst. If you are touched by this, then you will definitely be directly burned into ashes. The present number of knowledgeable people was not small in number. After they saw Mo Fan easily cast the second level of fire burst, their hearts began to billow. Yu Ang's ice spread was broken. Now he will be more passive, Guo Kaitang said, slightly worried. Don't worry, Mu he was the opposite. Mu Zhouyan carried his accustomed smile, as though everything was under his control. Fire burst, burning bones finally fell down. However, the people quickly realized that Yu Ang's speed had suddenly accelerated. He actually moved 4 or 5 meters to the side when the flames approached him. The fast speed caused the people to feel dazzled. The people were astonished, as they had no idea how Yu Ang could suddenly change his location. As Mo Fan saw the burning bones flames had landed on a piece of empty ground, his brows slightly creased. He was able to see it clearly. This guy Yu Ang's leather shoes had emitted a dim yellow light, and after that, Yu Ang acted like he had gained the earth ripple spell. His body shifted a few paces away. Shit, it was a piece of magical equipment. Magical boots, an earth magic equipment with the earth ripple spell. Having the earth element's earth ripple spell appearing out of nowhere caused the plan in Mo Fan's heart to go awry. Fortunately, this imprint spell within the magic equipment needed a magic stone every time you used it, and then you needed to recharge it to continue using it. Or else, Mo Fan didn't need to fight in this duel anymore. The flying speed of the fire burst was fast, but it still wouldn't be faster than the opponent's monstrous earth ripple movement. If you think your little flames could cause me to be useless in front of you, then you are too naive. This farce that has been preserved for 2 years should end. I will let you live, or else I won't be able to see you kowtow in front of my adoptive father in front of the gaze of all these people. Yu Ang laughed like a maniac. Yu Ang raised his 2 hands and in a split second, the entire field looked as though it was completely engulfed by a snowstorm. A driving snow descended from the sky, the cold pierced the bones and froze every object into an ice cube. The violent snow descended, the temperature rapidly fell. It fell so much that even the flames were unable to continue burning. This kind of cold, it was almost as though it froze the air. Ice spread, blizzard. Yuang was like a snow beast as he arrogantly stood in the middle of this incomparably concentrated snow. The entire duel arena was boundless. The cold snow was grim and ruthless. It was like a disaster had descended in winter. It didn't allow a way for any of the living things here to survive. The people sitting on the two sides of seats fell into a world of ice and snow. They subconsciously began to hug their own chests as their teeth began to shiver. Holy crap, the last time I met Yuang, he had only grasped ice spread, coagulate. After not seeing him for a whole year, he has actually cultivated his ice spread to the realm of 3rd level. Ice spread, blizzard is basically an ice disaster falling, extinguishing the flames. No matter where that kid called Mo Fan hides in this duel arena, he will still be frozen into an ice cube in just a matter of seconds. Feishi was unable to hold himself down no more as he yelled out. Feishi clearly remembered that when they were dealing with the one-eyed magic wolf, Yuang and Guo Kaitang's cultivation were about the same. Up until now, Guo Kaitang still hadn't grasped the 3rd level of ice spread, yet Yuang had actually reached this realm. Just what kind of degree of cultivation speed was this? It's over, it's over. Can't you see that Mo Fan's protective fire has been extinguished? After the snow has completely fallen, we will be able to see a human-shaped ice sculpture, Li Wenji exclaimed. Principal Zhu, Deng Kai, Yang Zuohei, etc., were all feeling the same. The present guests were gasping one by one. 18 years old. This was Yuang's 18th year coming-of-age ceremony. Many old magicians who had reached 40 to 50 years old would brag about their 2nd level of ice spread spell, yet, he had reached 18 years old and had already grasped a realm many ice magicians were unable to cross in their whole life. They really had no idea what to say. Today should be like this. Mo Fan also has magical equipment. Instructor Luo Yuanbo noted. Zhongkang shook his head. A bone scythe shield is useless against a spell like ice spread. The bone scythe shield was actually a really good defensive magical equipment, but so what if its defensive ability was stronger than ice element? Either way, the copper-clad iron bone would still be turned into an ice sculpture beneath the ice spread. Mo Fan's magic equipment was basically completely useless in this duel. Chapter 81 Fire Burst, Rupture. Let Yuang finish. If he were to freeze his face, then it would halt his breathing. That would be a danger to Mo Fan's life. Principal Zhu looked like he had predicted this result before he spoke to Deng Kai. Don't worry, a fire student won't die that easily under the snow. Mu Zhouyan was so happy that he began to stroke his beard. Looking at the surrounding guests, they all appeared to be completely dumbstruck. Ha ha ha. I bet you guys didn't think that Yuang, who has just turned 18, would have grasped the 3rd level of ice spread already. Generally speaking, if you were able to grasp the 2nd level spell before you graduated from Tianlan Magic High as a student, then you'd be a top-notch student. If this kind of student also received a good grade on their practicals, then the majority of them would definitely be able to enter a good magic university. As for the 3rd level spell, who knew how many years it would take to learn that? His adopted son, Yuang, had actually grasped it by the age of 18, surpassing all of the 1,500 students of Tianlan Magic High, and surpassing all the other powerful disciples. This little thing Mo Fan really is overestimating his own abilities. Later, when you get knocked out, I, Mu Zhouyan, will still not let you off that easily. I'll let you curse, little brat, I'll let you do that. Didn't it feel good that year when you cursed at me? Am I still not able to control you, little bastard? Nevertheless, the Mu family can still produce these talents. Admirable, old brother Zhouyan, this move of yours was a little unexpected. 3rd level of ice spread, you sure hid that one deep. Fortunately, I didn't let my dog of a son compare himself with your Yuang, or else he'd become just like this pitiable student. An old married woman laughed bitterly to herself. Sigh, with the 3rd level of ice spread appearing, he's basically now in control of all the younger generations of Bo City. Indeed, a hero of the young. The intimidation of the 3rd level of ice spread was indeed strong. It essentially caused this duel to no longer have any leeway for the wider number of people. All the guests basically started to congratulate and flatter Mu Joyan. Mu Joyan was enjoying it. Making the coming-of-age ceremony this grandiose was so he could show the people of Bo City how strong the Mu family's younger generation was. Deng Kai, it's about time. In the end, Principal Zhu was still relatively worried for Mo Fan. Deng Kai, how come you haven't stopped it yet? Mo Fan doesn't have a single magic equipment to resist this. If you delay it any longer, his blood flow will also stop. That will have a great effect on him. In the middle of the duel, Deng Kai actually wanted to stop this duel with a huge gap between the powers. However, in that boundless snow were radiating round flames that caused Deng Kai to immediately dispel his thoughts. Old Zhu, I'm afraid this Mo Fan isn't as simple as we imagined him to be. Deng Kai's gaze was tightly locked onto Mo Fan. Principal Zhu's heart was filled with suspicion. Just when he was about to say something, incomparably bright and colorful flames ignited within the boundless snow and caught his attention. In this kind of situation, he still wanted to persist and finish a fire burst? Fire bursts burning bones might substantially decline beneath the pressure of this large amount of snow. Even if its might didn't decline, Principal Zhu refused to believe that Yuang wouldn't have any defensive magic equipment. In other words, even if Mo Fan was able to complete a fire burst before he got frozen, his fire burst would still be deflected by Yuang, who hadn't used his defensive magic equipment. This kind of struggle. Something is wrong. This fire burst. Principal Zhu's eyes suddenly widened. Using his powerful perception, he was actually able to see the intense and incredibly frantic fire element energy within the boundless snow. This wasn't the second-level fire burst, burning bones. The tiny ball of flames possessed an incomparable penetrative power and boiling temperature. It shot through the snow, which was incapable of cooling off the flames. The fire burst once again landed in front of Yuang, who was controlling the ice and snow. Yuang sneered with disdain. He used his intent to search for the defensive magic equipment within his spiritual world. Ice Dust Shield. Yuang awoke the shield magic equipment imprint within his spirit. In an instant, the specks of ice frost quickly formed into a large, curved ice dust shield in front of him. This ice shield was enough to completely protect him while he was behind it. As the guests saw this scene, some began to sigh and others started to mock. There was no need to continue this useless struggle. A free player like you will definitely not be able to win against a premium player. Fire burst. Rupture. From within the ruthless and boundless snow, Mo Fan's resounding chant suddenly spread around the duel arena. After the sound faded, a frightening scarlet red emerged from the center of the vast expanse of whiteness that was the arena. The scarlet red was only the size of a candlelight in the beginning. However, in the next second, an enormous explosion sound was heard. Exclamation mark. Without warning, the raging flames suddenly burst open. Waves of fire began to wash over with the fire burst ball in the middle. Scorching tongues of fire were frantically fluttering. A dazzling scarlet red, and a boiling heat. The air began to vibrate from the sound of explosion, and the undulations were all transmitted towards the guests who were sitting on their seats. As everyone saw this, they were completely dumbstruck. Their eyes sank into that ball of rupturing fire burst. Heavens! How is this fire burst's burning bones? Fire burst, rupture. This is the third level of the fire element spell. The people hadn't regained their senses from the shock of Yuang's elevation, far surpassing his peers. Now, they were all being blasted away by Mo Fan's rupture. Their hearts were all trembling, unable to calm down. The captain of the city hunter squad, Shu Dahuang, looked as though his eyes were coming off. Fire burst, rupture was his ultimate move. With the help of this third level of fire burst, he could be counted as an outstanding magician amongst the hunters. The problem was that he is close to a 30-year-old magician, and the fire burst. Rupture was something he had poured all his strength into to break through. A third-year high school magic student who hadn't even graduated yet had actually grasped it. This really was difficult for him to accept. Principal Zhu and Deng Kai had already sensed Mo Fan's fire burst from the beginning. However, even now, their hearts were still unable to calm down. After running a school for so many years, a student who was able to grasp the third level of fire burst before graduation. They couldn't even remember how many years it had been since the last one. You had to know that just a few seconds ago, They were sighing about how an ancestral family's disciple was the disciple of an ancestral family. No matter how excellent a student of a magic school was, they still wouldn't be able to contend. Who would have known that in the next moment, Mo Fan gave them something that exceeded their imagination? Was this kid a freak? He was still capable of cultivating to this kind of realm in school, a place that had a limited amount of resources. Yang Zuohei from the Magic Association was flabbergasted upon seeing this. He swept past the people in the surroundings who were completely stunned and couldn't help but ask, "Has this kid been pulled in by anyone? If not, then I want him." The Zhou family's Zhou Mingjun was unsatisfied as he immediately said, "Your Magic Association doesn't have any good fire elemental resources. You should leave him to our Zhou family. This kid belongs to our army. Don't you steal him from us?" Luo Yunbo was unable to hold himself back. He hurriedly stood up and said his part. Yu Eng, a disciple of an ancestral family, had practically the best resources which Bo City could offer. In this kind of situation, he had cultivated to the 3rd level of the ice element spell, which caused people to lament endlessly. A student from Tianlan Magic High who was able to achieve the same realm would definitely disturb the entirety of Bo City.